sees the memes of production, and the like and subscribe button. Vaush, we don't understand why ADHD happens. We assume there's a common physical cause. There isn't. It's defined by the diagnostic criteria. That's what it is. Are we gonna do this every time? Why are you guys so locked in on this? This like delusional belief that you have that your like neurochemical behavior is preordained at birth and not affected by the behaviors that you engage in. You know that, like, for example, depression and anxiety can be reflected in a person's chemical brain state. Like, you can put a person's brain in the vat, you can take a look at it, and depression can be seen based on like brain pattern. But your day-to-day life can determine whether or not you have depression. Like, if you go outside, you walk in the sun, you get some exercise, you know, eating some whatever makes you happy, you can change your brain chemistry. To clarify, you're saying you don't believe ADHD, depression don't have physiological causes? No, when on earth did I say that? I said that your behavior can affect whether or not you have these things in many cases. Not 100%. Like, sometimes people are just going to have anxiety like no matter what. But maybe you can like cognitive behavioral therapy your way out of it, you know? And then you won't meet the diagnostic criteria for anxiety anymore. And then you'll be fine. Goalpost shifting? That's not goalpost shifting. Can somebody produce a clip of me saying there are no like physiological causes to ADHD or any other thing on your any other psychiatric condition? They're shadowboxing again? Yeah, because people get really insecure about this. These are the same types of motherfuckers who get mad at you when you say people should be literate, because they're like, well, the reason I'm not literate is because of, like, you know, I don't know, trauma, which I was born with. Wait, therapy just manages conditions. It can't cure ADHD, though? Do you think that therapy can take a person with clinical depression and make it so they no longer have clinical depression? Do you think that's possible? Just show of hands in chat. Do you think so? Yes or no? Do you think that's possible? Can a person go to therapy and on the first session they're diagnosed with clinical depression, and at the last one after 10 or 20 they can not have it? Yes? Okay, great. And we recognize that depression can have underlying genetic and physiological causes, but there are also lots of things in your day-to-day life you can do to affect it, right? It's possible there's like a wide range of potential causes. Why are you determined to die on this hill? You're actually dying trying to climb it, my friend. I'm right here in the I'm on the correct hill. I've been here my entire life. A little too steep for you to climb, it seems. I thought you took Adderall. I do take Adderall. Why does it matter what medications Vaush takes? Because see, the real reason people get upset at this is because they don't like acknowledging that they have control over their life. So they get frustrated at me because they assume my position, the one they're shadowboxing with, is that all of this is fake and not real and you can skillish your way out of it. That's what they think I'm saying. I haven't said that. Maybe it's a literacy issue. Literacy equals listening? Well, yeah, I mean, right? Like media literacy? It's like a broader kind of literacy. It's not all just reading, right? Here's a video of ADHD professionals describing genetic aspects of ADHD. Yes, there are genetic aspects to anxiety and depression as well. Could you not listen? Is it the ADHD why you can't listen? Yeah, of course. It's a brain chemistry thing. Of course it would be affected by chemistry. By genetics. Genetics construct your body and the brain in it. Do you think you can fully eradicate autism symptoms? I think that the language fully eradicate is pretty strong. We diagnose autism based on diagnostic criteria, right? It is possible for a person at one point in your life to meet enough criteria to be diagnosed as autistic, and then later in their life to not be diagnosed with those criteria and no longer be diagnosed as autistic. That's possible. It's happened to many people, though people don't usually get double diagnosed, but it can certainly happen. You should include this topic in your My Positions and Everything videos. The people who get upset at it aren't going to go like engaging with the argument. You know, they're upset because they're shadowboxing with you know, the concept of culpability. It's not really about what I say. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child. Turns out it was caused by trauma and maintained through habit. Coming to terms with my trauma and building better habits eliminated my ADHD. It's absolutely something you can gain and lose based on your environment. Oh, well, I mean, well done on improving your habits. Seems like a plausible denial argument for eugenics. Maybe with respect if you're stupid. If you, do you think it's eugenics for a guy to go to therapy so he's not depressed anymore? Because you're like, no, you're preferencing one brain state over another. You're suggesting people can change, which is an incentive for eliminationist attitudes towards depressive people. This is basically like the useless eaters dogma from Germany. You're being silly. I'm sorry. Come on. I think the reason people get defensive is because being told you can work through your issues sounds to them like because your issues can be changed, they're not real / valid. Yeah, but that's their fault for thinking that is the issue, right? That's not my fault. And ultimately, it's the same thing that I was getting at with regards to the whole, like, literacy elitism thing, which is people are just really resistant to the concept of self-improvement, you know? And I think that we come at this from, like, a wide variety of angles. A lot of people are really emotionally fragile. Mental illness rates are through the roof, like, relative to previous generations. And some of that is in a more diagnostic sensitivity, but a lot of it is also people are just probably more mentally ill. Like, the increasing rates of depression and anxiety are clearly not just more diagnoses, right? Like, there's an underlying truth to that there. So people are really sensitive and people get really defensive when it's sort of like pressed to them that they should engage in self-improvement. But also, there doesn't seem to be much like social value in engaging in self-improvement to begin with. And also, the dang phones are making everyone have ADHD. And video games are more fun than books. I don't know, man. It seems like it's just Vaush, just because you can adjust your lifestyle to accommodate for your neurotype does not mean you've changed your literal brain structure. I need you shouldn't be typing in chat. You should type into Google before you can type into chat. Can you change your brain structure through behavior? The answer is yes. You can. That is true. You can do that. That's literally what neuroplasticity is. You know that anytime you do anything, your brain is being rewired, right? Like, your brain isn't a fixed entity. Everything in your body is recycling cells. Your bones change, your muscles change. They grow, they shrink. The fat gets burnt and re-added. When you remember something, the memories are literally electrical signals encoding in brain cells. It's not like it's changing. Like, that is your brain chemistry. That is your brain structure. Changing constantly throughout your life. Brain structure can be changed, but only to a point. Well, sure, but that's the case with anything. Your muscular structure can be changed, but only up to a point. Why not argue on sociology and not you never got a degree for? I don't understand what the point is of, like, being oppositional and then getting salty when you run out of arguments. Like, what you know, you're kind of like giving the game away there, right? I still struggle with this one after decades of having ADHD and taking meds for it. Do you take Adderall because you have an actual attention disorder, or are you just lazy? I saw it on Twitter recently, and I think it's actually a pretty good argument, but, like, the tweet was the difference between being lazy and ADHD is that when you're lazy, you postpone doing the things you don't want to do, but when you have ADHD, you postpone doing the things you do want to do as well because of executive dysfunction. That's not the whole meat and potatoes of it, but I think that's like that's like a nice little litmus test right there, I think. Like a little one, you know, it's not fully indicative. Also, depression can cause you to postpone things. Well, again, that's because none of these psychological criteria are distinct brain states. They're just terms that we use to describe general overlapping behavioral trends. There will never be a genetic cause of depression, anxiety, ADHD, whatever, that becomes the definition, because that just isn't what they are. Brains are incredibly complicated. You're just looking at some are though. Yeah, like Down syndrome, for example. Down syndrome, you have the extra chromosome. That's an example of a condition that is defined by a measurable physiological state. No, that's the example of a cause that we found. No, there's a difference between finding something that correlates to something and defining something through that trait. This is a taxonomical flaw, and you need to read Foucault, is what I'm saying, basically. All of the reason we use diagnostic criteria is because we're describing trends and states of behavior. It wouldn't make... Can you imagine if one day they were like, hold on, new definition for depression just dropped. It turns out it's caused by a specific gene in your head or whatever. So if you don't have that gene, you no longer have depression clinically. We're no longer acknowledging your depression. You feel depressive? Sorry, you don't have it. What would be the point of that? We already have a perfectly working definition of depression. You might find genetic markers, but if a person doesn't have that marker but still has the symptoms of depression, would you not still want them to be treated with depression? Diagnoses are tools, not the goal. There's no goal. What do you mean goal? Things are defined as they are. What do you mean? The definition of these diagnoses are the diagnostic criteria. There's no underlying empirical... Why do you want the brain state to be reduced to this positivist, like actually everything... set of behaviors that we've come to identify through diagnostic criteria is actually caused by an underlying empirical marker that we can find. It's like the people obsessed with finding the gay gene. Why? What are you looking for? Oh yeah, you were agreeing with me. That's right. Oh, no. Listen, okay? Yeah, right now our definition of being gay is like, you know, sucking cocks and like wearing fishnet and assless chaps and stuff like that. But in reality, like that's only the beginning. In reality, being gay is caused by a mutation in one of your, you know, in your brain, right? And as soon as we find the gay gene, then we'll know. And once we find that out, everyone who's out there sucking and popping ass on the street but doesn't have that gene, they're no longer gay. And people who have been in a stable, loving, mutually sexually interested heterosexual marriage for 40 years, well, if they have the gene, well, they better buckle up because their ass is getting thrown over into the gay camp. How can you call me eugenicist when you guys are the ones that want to come up with like genetic markers for behavior? You're the one that, dude, the eugenicists are the ones obsessed with finding the gene that causes the thing. I'm the one saying it's a complicated mesh of genetic, physiological, and environmental causes. They found genetic markers for ADHD. Yeah, but it's not the definition of ADHD. It's just like there are genetic markers for depression as well, in the sense that if you have them, it's more likely you have that. But you can have those markers and not have ADHD, and vice versa. Vaush is arguing it's nurture, Chat's arguing it's nature. Meanwhile, it's both. Moron centrist. I'm saying it's both. Chat's the one arguing it's not nurture. Please, my editors are starving. Yeah. Imagine if you were denied ADHD medication because you didn't have a specific genetic marker. That would be dystopian, and that's what Chat is unknowingly arguing for. Yeah. They're kind of opening up the door to the eugenicists too, because my argument is that you could never actually eradicate anything like autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety, because even if there are like concurrent genetic markers, those behaviors will manifest in anyone, or any population at least, given enough time. But Chat's like, well, no, actually, once we figure out the gene, we can identify who the problematic people are. Basically, what I'm saying is everyone who disagreed with me is a I've made that argument before, and frankly, it's been a good one. It served me well in my career. Well, ADHD is a developmental chronic disorder, which depression isn't. It's like saying HIV is curable because influenza is curable because they're both viruses. Depression and ADHD are both defined by the diagnostic criteria. The reason HIV isn't curable but influenza is because we haven't found the big kill HIV button yet. Maybe one day we will. I don't know. Honestly, we kind of are getting towards curing HIV. But if ADHD and depression are both determined through diagnostic criteria and behaviorally modifiable, which they are, you can have them at some points in life and not have them at other points in life. Like, that's just how it is. Flint and steel. How about that? Was that good? Losing faith in you, TBH? I don't care. I'm sorry. I can't. It's your fault. I don't know why people are. This is why we are where we are with all this shit, man. Because I guarantee you that if there was a big push for literacy, a bunch of people would be like, "This is ableist and, you know, prescriptivist. Actually, this is fascism." Would you say there were autistic people in early civilizations like 10,000 years ago? Absolutely. Probably less than now, though. Fewer than now. Sorry, I was almost illiterate. Not everyone can afford to go to the library. Please Google the diametric model of mental illness. Since I'm right and you're the one who's wrong, shouldn't you be the one Googling for more information? Holy shit, it's windy outside. Just please consider that you might be wrong later when you're alone with your thoughts. Why are you talking like that? That's so weird. What the hell? You sound like a missionary trying to. Come on. Alone with my. Do you think that I, after streams, I'm like reflected, like I'm like, man, the neuroplastic model of diagnostic criteria with regard to mental conditions. I don't know. I feel like I overstepped on that one. Come on, maybe you reflect. Why is everyone so... Yeah, you're trying to make me feel bad. I have my name and face attached to all this, okay? When I argue with you people, you get to dip in and out of the void of anonymity to take shots at me. I'm sitting up here on the hill. Is dyslexia similar to ADHD? I actually don't know what causes dyslexia. That's true. To the people in chat who disagree with me, can we Control F in their search history, or in their chat history, what their opinions are on DoorDash? There's got to be an overlap. You probably can cure dyslexia in some cases, though, right? My guess would be that it's also a diagnostic criteria thing, and that there might be some kind of like cognitive process for improving it to the point where you no longer make the like mix-up mistakes. I'm not really sure though. Well, it's an attention thing. I don't really know what causes it. Depends what you mean by cure. As in, you would no longer be diagnosed with it if you went to a doc. It can't be cured. Just keep in mind that the pop answers you get on questions like this are often in, like, the people who write these articles also need to read Foucault, basically, is what I'm saying. But let me look. You're talking about reading Foucault, then saying that people were autistic in medieval times, dumbass? Yeah, they weren't diagnosed autistic back then, dumbass. They would meet the diagnostic criteria today, dumbass. What the f are you talking about? You think I'm arguing they were diagnosed with it back then? You think Foucault wouldn't have argued that people back then could have been diagnosed today under those criteria? Wait, what causes it? Understanding. Well, what causes it?